So I came across this Bitcoin family take drastic measures to protect themselves amid crypto kidnappings. Now, I've seen a spate of these things over recent years, but especially in recent months, I would argue. But, one example being, was it France? Was it Paris? Some poor pregnant woman with, these thugs had come out of a van, whatever it was, and try to quite literally kidnap a pregnant woman. And while that is absolutely appalling, I just wonder, you look, take a step back and you look at the bigger picture. I mean, remember, I opened the page, and what's the first thing it's telling me? Now supports Bitcoin. And you can't tell people, like, look, 1 second. Let's go into Twitter. And let's go to, James Melville, an example. So let's introduce digital ID brick cards for all adults in Britain and manipulatively say that it will be a solution to the illegal migration crisis. Well, we talked about that over the years, didn't we? Order, problem, reaction, solution, order out of chaos, all the rest of it, yeah? And, dear God, when you look at pictures of Tony Blair, honestly, seriously, yeah, he's not wearing well. But then, if you're at the right-hand side of Satan, I suppose you won't be wearing well. Oh, he's worth a vast amount of money, but then he's such a bought and paid for tosser. And, well, remember his past, getting caught in a toilet, for example, under a different name. But, yeah. Oh, that was years and years ago. But, they've always got to have something over people, but, they make useful puppets at that stage. But digital IDs, digital currencies, UK digital wallets, it's all coming in. But how do you get there? Where most people would normally be alarmed at these kind of things, when you've been selling for years, look, seriously, crypto, digital currency, it's the way to go. It's the way to protect yourself. And some people, when you question how and why, they're, oh, look, I'm minted. Oh, I spent £5 in 2014 and I'm a trillionaire, blah, blah, blah. And every now and again you hear a story about some twat that, chucked his crypto hard drive into the bin and, he's offering to pay so that he can go through a rubbish tip and all the rest of it. And I just feel that a lot of these stories is to help the validation of this. Oh, look, even criminal enterprises are going after people with crypto. It's that valuable. And I just think to myself, even an EMP blast, powerful enough, will wipe out pretty much most hard drives. Yeah? Now, from memory, I think you can get these things called ferrites, that you can put layers of protection on sensitive electronics, etc. Military are known for, putting layers of this type of material to protect against EMPs. But honestly, I just think the madness. And look, how many stories of people that have got into some kind of crypto and they've sold the house, everything, and they've lost everything. But people are in such denial. Look, I've got, I watch this YouTuber regularly, and he's living like a god, and blah blah blah. I've had people who I know that are Masons, who profess to be fairly clued up about the bigger picture, and don't get me wrong, some of them have been telling me lately, listen, it's kicking off soon, blah blah blah. But they've still asked me, well, what's your thoughts on crypto? And I've said all along, no. Look, I know this is a new world, yeah, everything's digital, and I mean, ultimately, you could go into that in so much more detail, and I really should, but I just think it's utter madness that it's being sold to us, and it's giving us this acceptance of absolute control by governments over every transaction. After all, if you've no money, even paper money, government gets to know every single transaction you do. I don't think people realize just how scary that's going to be. And remember, if you're like, even if you could say, oh, I can afford to eat a lot of meat, no matter what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. But if the government's like, sorry, and all, the banks have, well, we have to do this through government. Even if you're apparently a millionaire, yeah? Sorry, you've had your meat allowance for this week, and you're just not going to be able to buy anymore, blah, blah, blah. But how do we get here? Remember, with these digital currencies under government, yeah? Oh, you've had 4 beers, blah, blah, blah. No, that's your allowance. That's, every bloody aspect of your life. And said the wrong thing online, we're going to have to fine you. And because, say, for example, you're wealthy, it's got to be proportionate for the, to get, there is no end to the fucking thievery on steroids that the plan's all about and is doing by the day. And you've got all these various puppets to sell you that idea. Wow. Your safest houses with crypto. Look, I could do so many different vids on the subject, but I know that I'm wasting my fucking time because it is like a religion. It is. Crypto. Yeah, smart people are involved in that. Seriously. Historically, it's always been things like precious metals, commodities, houses, things like that. Cars sometimes, paintings, things of value, intrinsic value, blah, blah, blah. Then people are being conned on levels beyond belief, seriously. But you can't tell people. No, you can't. Anyway, your thoughts, and I'll speak to you soon.